Hello again, everybody. I'm going to try this one more time. This is my second attempt today. I did a somewhat longer video a while ago. This is probably going to be a little bit short. I just want to go over a couple of things here, and I'm going to break this up. The last one was an hour and a half, and for some reason, it kept failing over and over again on the upload. So I think I might have had some things in there that AI didn't care for. I did get a little bit wild on it a couple times. And I covered a little bit too much ground also. But anyway, I'm going to call this When the World Has Gone Insane or Government Gone Wild. Take your pick, either one works. Necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedom. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves. That's William Pitt Younger. And this whole necessity thing, the government uses that. The government always has to use their Hegelian dialectic. They create a problem, then they hurry up and find a solution for the problem, and they're the enemy. And then they get, with the synthesis, they've taken away some of your rights, and they've done this to the point to where there's hardly any rights left. It's problem, action, solution, or problem, reaction, solution. But anyway, and this is kind of the format they find, or they follow with the necessity. Oh, we've got to do this. We don't have a choice. They never have a choice. But anyway, I'm going to be jumping in and out of this a little bit, and I'm going to use the slideshow here a little bit, but I want to show you something real quick, and I'm not going to stay there long. This is about an Illinois mayor, and Illinois right now is doing some really crazy stuff. The governor just put out an order that bars are going to have to close down. Bars and restaurants are going to have to close down until further notice. I think that starts tomorrow. I didn't really investigate it. I just kind of saw it in passing, and it wasn't, part of what I was looking at. But let's go here and look at this for a second. This is High Impact Vlogs here. Whoops, where are we at? And this right here is, he's the one where I got this from. So we're going to go back here, and I put the information in the slideshow. So anyway, what this Illinois mayor just did should infuriate you. This was streamed live on March 14th, 2020, High Impact Vlogs, YouTube. Now what she did is she issued an executive order, and I'm going to ask all of you to go watch this video and at least watch the relevant parts of it. It looked like it started about a third of the way in on the timeline. I didn't get a timestamp, but you can find it. I just showed you that. But she's issuing executive orders. This woman has decided that somebody died and left her God. And she's citing some statutes on this. And when I was looking at this, I went to the Illinois General Assembly website and looked up just what those statutes were, and I found it quite fascinating at what she used to justify her making all of these moves. Now, what happened here? She has decided that she can, because it's an emergency, that she can take people's property. She can pretty much, it's like martial law. She's doing her own martial law. This is Champaign, Illinois. It's a college town that's about the center of the state, a little over to the east, off center, a little bit to the south, off center. But it's closer to center than it is to the edges. Anyway, this is one that she cites in that paper. We're going to look at that here too. Let's just go back and read that real quick first before we do this, if I can remember where I put it. I think I put it right here. Like I say, I got bumped, so I just did a screenshot of it. And this is her document she filed. Whereas the city administration has coordinated a response with other Champaign County government entities, and whereas 20 ILCS 3305/10J of the Emergency Management Agency Act and 65 ILCS, that stands for Illinois Compiled Statutes, 5/8-10-5 of the Emergency Act, and section blah 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 of the Champaign Municipal Code. We can strike that out of there right now. That means nothing. But she's saying that she's a home rule unit, And this woman's name is Deborah Fank Filing. She's the mayor of the city of Champaign. And she's saying pursuant to her by the power given to her by the municipal code. Okay, how do these people keep taking more power than we have? Men and women set up government, yet government keeps taking more power than we had to give them. How is that? And that's what we're going to address in a subsequent video. But this is complete and total BS here. 20 ILCS. Let's go look at that one real quick here. There's the slideshow. Here's the act, and this is the beginning of the chapter. This is the title. It's called the Illinois Emergency Management Act. Okay, and this is where it's at in Section 10. It's 3305/10. It's Section 10J. Now listen to this real carefully. In carrying out the provisions of this act, each political subdivision may enter into contracts and incur obligations necessary to place it in a position effectively to combat the disasters as are described in Section 4. Ooh, we can use contracts to do combat, it looks like, to protect the health and safety of persons, to protect property, and to provide emergency assistance to victims of those disasters. If a disaster occurs, each political subdivision may exercise the powers vested under this section in light of the exigencies of the disaster and accepting mandatory constitutional requirements, such as that stupid little thing they call due process, without regard to procedures and formalities normally prescribed by law pertaining to the performance of public work, entering into contracts, the incurring of obligations, the employment of temporary workers, the rental of equipment, the purchase of supplies and materials, and the appropriation, expenditure, and disposition of public funds and property. Wow. Now, do you see anything there that would give her any kind of emergency powers other than to enter into a contract without having to go through the city council? Kind of weird, isn't it? But this is a normal standard operating procedure for these people. They do it all the time. Well, surely the other one's got to give her something then, right? Okay, this is chapter 65, and it's the purchasing and public works contracts in cities of more than 500,000. Well, first of all, I've been to Champaign-Urbana. It's like a twin city down there. Champaign-Urbana is the college town. I've been down there many times, and I know there's not 500,000 in that county. I'm in Winnebago County in northern Illinois, and there's 280,000 in this whole county, with 139,000 in Rockford. We're north of Rockford in a suburb called McChesney Park. But judging from our town and going through that town, I know they don't have that many, so this probably doesn't even apply anyway. But here's what it says. This is 65 Illinois Compiled Statutes, Chapter 5, subsection 8/10/5 or -5. Okay, in case of an emergency affecting the public health or safety, so declared by the corporate authorities of the municipality. Okay, now look at this right here, first of all. The corporate authorities of the municipality, at a meeting thereof, duly convened, which declaration shall require the affirmative vote of a majority of all members thereof, and shall set forth the nature of the danger to the public health or safety, contracts may be let to the extent necessary to resolve such emergency without public advertisement. The resolution or ordinance in which such declaration is embodied shall fix the date upon which such emergency shall terminate, which date may be extended or abridged by the corporate authorities as in their judgment in the circumstances require. So far, this is all has to do with administrative stuff, with entering into contracts and how you pay for things. And then here, this is real telling right here. The purchasing agent, hereinafter provided for. Okay, this is something that provides a way for the purchasing agent to navigate if there is some type of an emergency situation. The purchasing agent hereinafter provided for may purchase or may authorize in writing any agency of such municipal government or of the institutions, boards, commissions thereof, if any, to purchase in the open market without filing requisition or estimate therefor, and without advertisement any supplies, materials, or equipment for immediate delivery to meet bona fide operating emergencies, where the amount thereof is not in excess of $40,000. A full written account of any such emergency, together with requisition for the materials, blah, 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 blah. This has nothing at all to do with emergency powers except for the power to buy, to purchase, to enter into contracts. Okay, but yet she's saying that she can establish her own martial law and make up the rules. She's not allowing them to sell alcohol or sell guns. She says she can go in and take their private property. She can turn off their lights and power if she so chooses. And, you know, that's just false. It's completely false. Now I'm going to have to exit this for a second because we're going to go back in here in 1 second. And let's go back to slideshow, shall we? Here's what I wanted to go back to. I didn't carry this over and do it the first time around. But the first one, chapter 20 of the Illinois Compiled Statutes, it says here, to protect the health and safety of persons. Are you a person? Really, now think about that. Are you a person? What does person mean? You got any idea? Well, apparently, this talks about her duty to protect the health and safety of persons. So it would behoove us to find out what a person is. First of all, that's gonna be very telling. And I just happen to have something up here that we're going to take a look at. It's called What is a Person? And this is what was it again? livingintheprivate.blogspot.com. So it's livingintheprivate.blogspot.com. Oh, I can't talk very well. What is a person? Oh, by the way, before I get into this, this is a very good site. With all these things here, there's all kinds of information. I spent about an hour going through this, and this is a lot of good information in one spot. And it took me a long time to find that much information. And I pretty much vetted this, and I like this. I really like this. Anyway, what's a person? In the imaginary world of legal fictions, now there's a word we're going to get used to, legal fiction, or a phrase, and all commerce is legal fiction. A person is always an artificial legal person of one kind or another, legally generated. Now, so that's obviously not a man or a woman that's born, but it's a fiction that's generated by an act of law. So anyway, a legal person is any subject matter to which the law attributes a mere legal or fictitious personality. This extension is one of the most noteworthy feats of legal imagination. Legal persons, being the arbitrary creations of the law, may be of as many kinds as the law pleases. Those recognized by our own system, however, all fall within a single class, namely corporations or bodies corporate, and the source is Jurisprudence 7th edition, Sweet and Maxwell Limited, 1924, section 113, page 336. Okay, now this is very telling, and you probably missed this. We're going to go back over it. Right here it talks about a legal person is any subject matter. Okay? Now, when you go to court against somebody or a corporation or whatever, you have to have standing. You have to be a party to the matter, and you have to have the ability to move the court with a cause of action or otherwise have some tie to the matter. Now, the court, on the other hand, has to have jurisdiction, and their jurisdiction is based on two different things. Subject matter, which is in res or in rem jurisdiction, and of the person, which is in persona jurisdiction. I didn't put a slide up for those or anything, so we're just going to talk about them for a moment. because especially in the Patriot movement, people that have got a little bit of legal knowledge run into a courtroom and they immediately challenge jurisdiction, which that's a bad thing to do unless you really know what you're doing, and even then you can get in trouble. But when they do it, they challenge in personam jurisdiction. However, personam is off the Latin word persona, which is a mask that an actor wears. So it's not a real person, it's a legal fiction, and it is considered a thing. It is not considered a living, breathing, sentient being of any kind. Okay, so that's the thing that we're going to look at here, mostly. And we're going to look at some of these definitions, then I'm going to show you a rule of statutory construction. Natural person, a human being naturally born versus a legally generated juridical person. Black's Law 7th, 2nd edition. And then we have artificial person, and that's a non-human entity, so non-human, that is created by law and is legally different, owning its own rights and duties. Owning its own rights and duties. I'm going to put these glasses back on. Where did I lay them? Here we go. Juridical person. Here is an entity as a firm that is not a single natural person, as a human being authorized by law, with duties and rights, recognized as a legal authority, having a distinct identity. A legal personality, also known as artificial person. Juridical entity, juristic person, or legal person, also referred to body corporate. Black's Law, 2nd edition. Okay, let's see. Let's go to natural person. Well, natural person, surely that's got to be a man, right? Okay, and it says there, a natural person as a human being is distinguished from an artificial person created by law. Black's Law Dictionary, 7th edition. Now this one here might trick you a little bit because it does refer to a human, and after all, we're all human, aren't we? And I did not pull it back up. Okay. Let's do this real quick because I want to show you something about human being. Let's go. No, I don't type very fast. Human beings, law and the legal definition. Human beings are characterized by the ability to speak. They have high capacities for abstract thinking and are commonly thought to possess a spirit or soul which transcends the physical body. The spiritual aspect of human beings is often defined in terms of ritual and religion. That's interesting. But let's go down here for a moment. Okay, oh, this is something else that we're going to have to look at. And this is Cornell Law University. This is interesting here. It's in 1 U.S. Code, Section 8. Person, human being, child, and individual, as including born alive infant. This one here we're going to be giving some time to later. Born alive infant. And that's not anything like what you think it is. In determining the meaning of any act of Congress or any ruling, regulation, or interpretation of the various administrative bureaus and agencies of the United States, the words person, human being, child, and individual shall include every infant member of the species Homo sapiens who is born alive at any stage of development. Here again, I don't know if we want to take a look at this or not right now, but we might. As used in this section, the term born alive with respect to a member of the species Homo sapiens mean the complete expulsion or extraction from his or her mother of that member at any stage of development, who after such expulsion or extraction breathes or has a beating heart, pulsation of the umbilical cord, or definite movement of voluntary muscles, regardless of whether the umbilical cord has been cut and regardless of whether the expulsion or extraction occurs as a result of natural or induced labor, cesarean section, or induced abortion. Nothing in this section shall be construed to affirm, deny, expand, or contract any legal status or legal right applicable to any member of the species Homo sapien at any point prior to being born alive, as defined in this section. So this is very, very deceptive right here also. But I wanted to take a look at this born alive. And what we're going to do, well, I think we'll come back to this and look at it because I'm still not to defining human being. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I should have done my homework on this one. Okay, and I didn't. Oh, come on now. Here we go. I knew it was on this page. What is a monster? A prodigious birth, a human birth, or offspring not having the shape of mankind, which cannot be heir to any land, albeit be brought forth in marriage. And this right here, Brecht, Fowle, 5. This is a citation of a recorder for a case law. But it's an old one, and this is probably a very, very old, like around 1800, if I had to guess. But anyway, monster. Let's see what Blacks has to say about monster. Well, this is going to knock your socks off. What is a monster? A prodigious birth, a human birth, or offspring not having the shape of mankind, which cannot be heir to any land, albeit brought forth in marriage. So it's basically the same thing. Okay, but you see what it's saying there? It's a human birth is considered a monster. And this is all more verbal trickery. What they're doing is they don't want you, which you cannot be heir to any land. Well, when we get looking at estate, we're going to find out that our estate and the land that we own is our body. Okay? We're made from the soil, we're made from the dust of the earth, and because of that, we are real estate. Plain and simple. We are made from the soil. Therefore, but we can't own that soil because they've classified us as monsters. Nice of them, wasn't it? And that's the kind of garbage these people do to us. Okay, now one more thing. You notice in all of this that we've looked at here, we have not seen anything about a man or a woman. Okay, where do we go up here? Here's Cornell. Let's go back here and leave this up for a minute. The reason that we didn't is because of a rule of statutory construction. And that is this right here, adjustum generis. So what is adjustum generis? Of the same kind, class, or nature. In statutory construction, the adjustum generis rule is that where general words follow an enumeration of persons or things by words of a particular and specific meaning, such general words are not to be construed in their widest extent, but are to be held as applying only to persons or things of the same general kind or class as those specifically mentioned. And the implication here for us is, when we went back over here, this whole list of people, natural person, individual, all of these, natural person, artificial person, juridical person, I have always had problems with that word. All of these are of a certain class. They are legal fictions, okay? What they've done through this whole birth certificate fraud is they've converted us into a fictitious being called a legal fiction. We're not even a being, we are a thing. And that therefore we are subject matter. we're subject to in rem jurisdiction. In personam jurisdiction does not even apply. So when we go in there and we know just a little bit of law, and we say, well, I'm a man, I'm arguing jurisdiction. You don't have any jurisdiction over me. I'm a man. I'm a son of the Most High. Blah blah blah. They think you're crazy because you're not going in there as a man. You're going in there and standing in the place of a legal fiction. And we're going to get into this quite a little bit here, but I'm going to go back for a moment, and I want to look at this on the Born Alive. And I have not investigated this particular one. I've been here before, but not lately. Born alive, as used in this section, the term born alive with respect to a member of the species Homo sapien. There again, it doesn't say man or woman. It means the complete expulsion, extraction of his or her mother of that member at any stage of development, so on and so forth. We've read that here. Okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to, I'm not finding what I want here. And it's probably in there. I'm going to go to Black's. Let's see. Born Alive. Let's try the 4th edition. That should probably do it. This is not complete. Okay, this might be a little bit closer. Okay, and this is the PDF. Oh, I've got it downloaded already. Let's go over here. We're going to have to do this. Wow, this is documents. Let's try this. Black's Law, 4th edition, 1891. That would be it. And there's a reason I'm going to all this trouble, because this is very telling. Oh, come on. Okay, here we go. And where's the slider? This always takes a minute. Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. We're getting closer. Oh, come on. We're probably close enough to do it this way. Maybe not. Maybe not. I'm sorry about this. Okay, we're getting close. And this really is worth going through the hassle. Provided I find it, of course. Born alive. Okay, we're going to have to go the other way on it. Okay. Should pause this thing. Okay, let's get out of here. Let's go back to the browser. No, cancel. Of course not. I'll go to this one. Oh, yes. That was all. Okay, and let's get back here. Oh, come on now. I'm not finding it. Stillborn and born alive mean the same thing. I'm not getting a good definition. Really? Okay, you might have to trust me on this. In fact, I might go back and edit about 10 minutes of this out of here. Oh, wow. Way past it. That's I. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm getting sick of this. You're going to have to trust me on this. Go find it. You will find, if you search, that stillborn and born alive mean the same thing. And it all has to do with the trickery. Now, if we were to go up here, and let's go to Illinois General Assembly. If we go to the compiled statutes, and we go way down here to estates, somewhere in here there is a definition where Illinois also has that. I went and looked for it earlier. That's why these are black. They were highlighted. But if you get down here and you look in this, you're going to find things in this Probate Act of 1975. You're going to find different things that tend to point towards the estates, claims against the estates, and point to this birth certificate fraud, but it's written in language that's hard to pick up on. Let's see if we can find anything here real quick. Oh, this is procedure here. But what they do, and this is all, it's all codified in here in this section of the compiled statutes, and what it's about is trusts and fiduciaries. It's in one of these two, not sure where, but it has to do with how they administer the trust, and the trust is a decedent estate, and that's what I should have looked for when I was in the other one. Let's go estates. Okay. independent administration of decedents' estates. This is where I think I found it. When I was looking through here and reading some of this stuff here, it's talking about protection of persons under disability during independent administration. But that's what's really happening in these international private courts, is they're administrating a decedent infant estate. It's established, you had a certificate of live birth, your mother was the informant on that, and they took that and it's a securitized instrument, it's written on bond paper. And like this right here, service of inventory, not less than 30 days prior to filing of the verified report required by section blah blah, an independent representative shall mail or deliver a copy of an inventory of the estate. And this would be referring to the birth certificate or the certificate of live birth, one or the other. But this all ties together under this, and they are administering the estate, and they're doing that because there is no money. Oh, I just saw decedent's real estate. To take possession, administer, and grant possession of the decedent's real estate, which in terms of this subsection includes all gas, coal, other mineral rights, blah, 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 blah. To retain property properly acquired. And you'll find in here that there's going to be a bunch of stuff about gifts from the estates and that type of thing. But what they're doing is they're tricking us. They're tricking us into a jurisdiction. We're going in as things and we're going in as dead. I think if you'll remember in one of my first videos I did, I told you I was going to show you that you're dead, and you really are. Because this legal person, which was what you're considered, you can read the entirety of the Illinois compiled statutes and you're not going to find yourself listed, you're not going to find man or woman listed very much at all, and never in such a way that it applies to a living man or a living woman. Anyway, let's go back here real quick and we'll just touch on this birth certificate. But this is a whole study in itself, and it took me a long time. That's why I was kind of happy I found this website, because this livingintheprivate.blogspot.com is a good place for somebody to start looking if they wanted to get a handle on this for themselves. On the birth certificate, the legal person's name is a deceased estate trust. Now, before I go any further, I've just been giving you definitions right now and showing you the way I do things, but I should tell you that I am not a lawyer and I'm not giving any kind of legal advice. I'm just showing you things that I've done, things that I've studied. And I keep going back to that saying, Thomas Jefferson, a nation that expects to be ignorant and free expects what never was or never can be. It's impossible. You can't be ignorant and free, because there's really smart people out there that'll twist words, expand the meanings of words. And by the way, the expanding the meaning of a word is one of the most powerful tools they do to pervert the language. And that's kind of why they go back to the Latin. When we get down here, I'm going to go to the bottom of the page here because I'm sure they have some maxims of law down here. Yeah, here's some maxims. Consensit facit legem. That's the Latin. Consent makes the law. Okay? And they always go back to this Latin because these words are very precise. Okay? El incumbit probatio qui dicit non qui negat. Don't know if I'm saying that right. The burden of proof lies upon him who affirms, not him who denies. And they put these in Latin for two reasons. Number one, to confuse us and to show that we're idiots and we're incompetent, so they can administer our state. And number two, so we just don't understand what they're saying. Okay, the words that they're giving us, the English, allegedly English translations, which are bastardized Latin for the most part, and you know, I think there's about 11 languages that are used for the basis of the English language, and they've broadened the definitions to where there's, oh my goodness, there are some words, some simple words have so many meanings you wouldn't believe it. One that comes to mind, let's go over to Webster's. Okay, let's try this right here. The Webster's 1828 American Dictionary of the English Language. Thanks to the big Sib, Brandon Sibley, I've got a hard copy of this. I saw that he was using it and he explained it on his channel, and I went out and bought one, and it's proved to be invaluable. But let's try 4. 4. Preposition, Latin per, the English for, to forbid. For corresponds in sense with the Latin pro, as for does with proe. But pro and proe are probably contracted from prod, proid. So see, this gives the etymology here and talks about it. But look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm not going to count them all. Let's go see how many there are. Whoa, we're still going. Up to 30 and still going. We've got 31 definitions here. For, to, denoting purpose. For my life or my heart. By the want of. By means of. All of these different things. It's broadening the meaning, but it's somewhat, this is somewhat more certain than what we would get today in a modern dictionary, because a bunch of this stuff's not in there. But if you remember in the Bill Clinton Monica Lewinsky case, he was asked a question and he said, remember Bill Clinton answered, well, that depends on what your definition of is. And everybody got a really big kick out of that and had a good laugh out of it. But that's exactly what he was doing. He was obfuscating the language because there are so many definitions. Let's try is real quick. Let's see how many definitions there are for that. Oh, here there's not very much. Oh well, so much for that. But no, this American Dictionary of the English Language, everybody should have it, and you can always get it online. And look these words up, because words that you've used every day do not mean what you think they mean. Elope. You know what elope means, right? Probably not. To run away, to depart from one's proper place or station privately without permission, quit without permission. Particularly and appropriately, to run away or depart from a husband and live with an adulterer as a married woman. To quilt a father's house privately or without permission and marry or live with a gallant or unmarried woman. But did you notice this here? That it says when a woman that to run away and depart from a husband and live with an adulterer. So these words, they don't have the meanings you think, and they've changed. Every generation we're getting a new version of the Bible just because of that. Just because the words have changed. You know, we have the slang, and the slang shapes the meaning of a word. When it used to be things where, if you watch Leave It to Beaver, you hear Wally and Beav saying, oh, that's swell, Wally, you know. Then when we get up to where I came up in the 70s, everything was cool. Swell back in the late 50s, early 60s was the word that in the 70s we used for cool. And different things. Now today, you know, it's bad, or there's, you know, more explicit terms for it. But the language, people tend to pervert language and change it. And the powers that be promote that. They want us to be confused on language. So it really does behoove a person to get a good dictionary or look at all these words and look up the little words. Okay, back to this. On the birth certificate, the legal person name is a deceased estate trust, which is why the definition for the term person in the United States Social Security Act 1935 includes trust or estate. Social Security Act 1935 definition section 1101A. When used in this act, 3, the term person means an individual, a trust or estate, a partnership or corporation. See, the existence of two entities, the legal person and the natural person, the terms may differentiate between non-human and human entities, is plainly acknowledged in the New Zealand Bills of Rights Act 1990. Section 29, application to legal persons. Except for the provision of this Bill of Rights otherwise provided, the provision of this Bill of Rights applies so far as practicable for the benefit of all legal persons as well as for the benefit of all natural persons. So we can see here the way this is written that there's a demarcation. We've got legal persons and natural persons because it says as, what's going on here with this? As well as, whoops, right here, as well as all natural persons. So there's two different classes of persons here. And we don't really need to go into that and understand that. But all legally generated fictitious persons are debtors by default because they are created without any inherent productive capacity. They're dead. They don't have the ability to produce anything. Their inferior status is indicated by the use of written styles other than proper English grammar, and or by joining the family surname, last name, which is not part of a man-woman's appellation, given name, estate title, and legally dead, having no autonomous life. Black's Law Dictionary, revised 4th edition, 1968, provides the following definitions of written styles. And here, this goes back to Roman law. Capitis diminutio, meaning the diminishing of status through the use of capitalization. In Roman law, a diminished or abridgment of personality, a loss or curtailment of a man's status or aggregate of legal attributes and qualifications. Capitis diminutio minima, meaning a minimum loss of status through the use of capitalization. Example, John Doe, with a properly cased capital followed by small o, lowercase h, lowercase n, capital D, lowercase o, lowercase e. It's the lowest or least comprehensive degree of loss of status, and that's what this is all about. There again, it's a fraudulent conveyance of language, which is a crime, but they use it, and it's not a crime because there's a maxim of law that ignorance of the law is no excuse. So they've got us coming and going. They make us go to their public schools where they choose the horrendous curriculums. You know, they don't teach Latin or Greek anymore, and now they barely teach English. Last I heard, under Common Core, they weren't teaching cursive writing. So the kids nowadays are not even taught how they can go read the original founding documents of this country, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Okay. It happened upon the arrogation pride of a person who had been his own master, sui juris, that's in your own person, of his own right, not under any legal disability, or upon the emancipation of one who had been under the patria potentitas, and that's referring to its parental authority, and that's the doctrine of parens patriae, which means that the state is your daddy. Just to break it down and make it real simple, it left the rights of liberty and citizenship unaltered. Okay, now this is minima, so they did it correctly. It doesn't change your citizenship. There is a lowering of status, and in the document that I'm doing to record my declaration and will, I will be not using capitals at all. It'll be all lowercase for my name because I'm wanting to show that I have no lowered status whatsoever. Capitis diminutio media, meaning a medium loss of status through the use of capitalization. For an example, John, styled correctly with a capital J, lowercase o, lowercase h, and lowercase n, and then all capitals DOE. A lesser or medium loss of status. This occurred where a man loses his rights of citizenship, but without losing his liberty. It carried away also the family rights. So here he lost something. He lost his family rights here. But here's the one they get us on. Pull out your driver's license and look at it. Get your electric bill out and look at it. You're going to find all capital letters. Look at your Social Security card. And they pull another one there on your Social Security card. It'll be John H. Doe. You know, there'll be middle initial only. That's not you. Nothing about that's you. Capitis diminutio maxima, meaning a maximum loss of status through the use of capitalization. And that's why they do it. John in all caps, and Doe in all caps, or Doe in all caps first, followed by John. The highest or most comprehensive loss of status. This occurred when a man's condition was changed from one of freedom to one of bondage. When he became a slave, it swept away with it all rights of citizenship and all family rights. And that's where we're at today, right here. We are slaves. We're slaves to the system. And this is a great site. This is all in one spot like this. This is very well done. I'm very pleased with it. A slave in bondage, divested of common living rights, has a status and practice equivalent to dead property. See, there we are again. When we go in their courts, we're talking about in rem jurisdiction. We're not talking about in personam jurisdiction. We are a thing. Being a mere thing. Oh, if I would have read it, it says that. Dead all capital letter names are found on graveyard tombstones, on vessels in commerce, on corporate signage, on legal fiction documents such as driver's license, and so on. And see, that's the thing. Your driver's license is a legal fiction. What they've done is they've used adhesion contracts, and they've distorted and entered into contracts with you. Number one, your driver's license. You weren't of the age to enter into a contract. It's a contract where you trade your God-given unalienable rights for state-granted civil rights. Now, when the state grants something, then they have the right to take that thing away. So, but nobody, no man or woman needs a driver's license anywhere on this planet. It just doesn't happen. But they've got us, they've tricked us, and we signed up for this driver's license, and we really didn't have a choice. You know, we all know that. They weren't going to let us drive without a driver's license. What 16-year-old kid doesn't want to get his driver's license, get his wings, as it were? Further use of all capital letters is not proper English written language. It's also defined as glosses in American Sign Language. And this is very interesting. Justinian Deception has a couple of videos on glosses. One of them is called Diglossia. That's not too long ago. You should really check them out. If I can remember, which I don't do a very good job of nowadays, I'll leave a link in the comments section or in the description section. The Chicago Manual of Style. Now, a manual of style tells you how to style a particular thing, where to use capitalizations on proper nouns and this, that, and the other thing. But this is accepted pretty much, this and the Oxford Manual of Style are accepted pretty much by all of the scholars in the world. And it's, I believe this is the official manual style of the United States Supreme Court. I know the Illinois Supreme Court has its own style manual, but it's not as complete. This is very comprehensive here. The Chicago Style Manual, 16th edition, Foreign Languages, section 11147. And I believe that's on page 666, believe it or not. Glosses in ASL, that's American Sign Language. The written language transcription of a sign is called a gloss. Glosses are words from the spoken language written in small capital letters, woman, school, cat. Alternatively, regular capital letters may be used. When two or more words are used to gloss a single sign, the glosses are separated by hyphens. The translation is enclosed in double quotation marks. The sign for a car drove by is written as vehicle dash or a hyphen drive hyphen by. If they're not created, or if they're not attached or joined together with a hyphen, this would be vehicle and drive and by is how you would read that, and it would make no sense. But that's the way real Latin is, and in its purest sense there would be a dot between all of these letters. If you look on the facade of the Vatican, where it's got all those Latin letters, you look real close. In fact, you look on any of the classic architecture over in Rome and Greece and that, where it's got Latin, you'll see there's a dot or a dash or something in between those letters. And that's the proper way to do it, proper way to style it, in capital letters with the dots. Anyway, but this here is called, well, this isn't, because it's done correctly. This is not done correctly. This would be considered dog Latin. But where your name is spelled in all capital letters, like John Doe, That's a bastardized form of Latin. It's the Latin of the illiterate. And that's another one that they use to rise to the presumption that we are idiots and they must protect us. So they take silent judicial notice and make us wards of the court. And at that time, it's over with. Okay, now I've gotten longer than I wanted to do with this. But maybe I'll just jump over this a little bit and we'll let you finish up with it on your own. Glossia Bipernia Esque Corridit Becerra Textus 11 Coke 34. That's a 16th century jurist, Coke. It is a poisonous gloss which corrupts the essence of the text. So, in other words, you can't mix the two styles. When you use a gloss, a bastardized Latin like this right here, I don't have enough room for my mouse on this desk. When you use something like this with a text like this, it makes no sense. It's nonsense. You can't marry the English language with bastardized Latin. It doesn't work. So when you go on in and you see State of Illinois in all capital letters versus Stephen Hugh Ingle and styled correctly, because now Illinois has gotten sharp now. They're doing it with, they did it Ingle Stephen H for my name, and then they put parenthetically 020859. And that's what they put on the charging instrument. And the other one, say I have two misdemeanor cases that I'm fighting with these people right now. The one from South Beloit, he did it with all caps, spelling my whole name in all caps. So he did what they used to do all the time. But they were told they had to do it that way, and it's never been explained to them. The police don't really know what's going on here. Anyway, back to this. Regardless of writing styles, combining a given name with a family name always forms an artificial legal person, e.g. John Doe. And John Doe are both artificial legal persons. Now, a man or woman's appellation, given name, is their living estate title, e.g. John. Your estate is the land or the property of your mind, body, and soul, and all the physical and intellectual property that derives from your living energy, including your inborn unalienable rights. Okay, and this is what it ultimately comes down to, and this is what the whole fraud is about right here. Here's the rub that derives from your living energy. See, fictions cannot provide energy, and all production comes from living energy. It has to come from the living man or woman. But for them to have any kind of control over it, they have to trick us into being a surety for a dead being. And that's the whole game in a nutshell right there. But getting to where you've wrapped your mind around all of this stuff in a way that it comes natural to you, man, that's hard to do. It takes a lot of understanding, and we shouldn't have to do it. It's straight up fraud. And that's what I'm trying to kind of work on, and I've made a lot of progress, but I'm not quite there yet. Whereas the shared family name, surname, last name is not autonomous. It is a dead plural noun. Therefore, the given name must be grammatically separated to avoid semantic corruption. Legislation joins the living given name to the dead plural noun, forming a dead artificial person. Name taking away a man, woman's unique living estate title. Okay, now I've heard a whole bunch of stuff here, and right here, if you got a first name and a last name, it's John : Doe. Colon is the strongest punctuation. It's a full stop. Okay, or you can do it like this here, John of the family Doe. And this is the way I do it with me, only I go Stephen -Hugh of the family Ingle. So I join like this right here. John Henry, hyphenated. And this is your given name, and it's sufficient on any document to sign your name like this. This keeps you living. In a proper grammar, living given names are proper nouns beginning with a capital letter. And if a family name is added, it is separated by a colon indicating the facts and introducing their relationship. But fictional persons are not styled in this grammatically correct manner. Note the types of persons evidenced by the following styles. John Henry Doe is a foreign situs trust. John Henry Doe is a Seta KV estate trust. John H. Doe is a public transmitting utility. And this one right here is public transmitting utility because you're transmitting your living energy into a dead estate or a dead man's estate. So anyway, a man or a woman enjoinder to a person becomes the walking dead, legally speaking. By definition, they are incompetent and incapable of possessing living rights and responsibilities. Consequently, their estate title properties are forfeited and they are granted limited and revocable benefits and privileges. Their ignorance is negligence. And for as long as they walk in the underworld of the legally dead, they are subject to high priests of Baal, or the black-robed devil who makes judgment upon the one who has given up their life. And in so doing, the priest delivers a curse, in ancient times death, in modern times debt, and the victim is sacrificed. So that's it in a nutshell. Every person is a debtor by default, and every man or woman who suffers joinder to a person becomes surety in the debt money system of bondage, sacrificing their living energy via the fictional transmitting utility, feeding the parasitic banking cabal which espouses the Roman motto, he who would be deceived, let him be deceived. Let's try that again. He who would be deceived, let him be deceived. In other words, if you're stupid enough to let me pull a wool over your eyes, oh well, so be it. And that's it on this page here, and it's probably about enough for this video. But with all of this corona thing going on now and all of the idiocracy that's happening in the world, I just wanted to make a quick video, and I don't think this turned out to be a quick one. Hopefully I can get it loaded tonight, and hopefully it's not going to do what the last one did to me. So I'll tell you what, I had quite a time, and it was an hour and a half long, so it took forever for it to convert and then to download to YouTube, and then YouTube spit it right out. So let's see if we do any better this time. But again, thanks everybody for being patient with me, and I'm going to take this a little further at some point in time. Maybe I'll do another video after I watch this a time or two to remember exactly what I did say. See, for me that gets a little bit hard to do. I'm not used to doing this enough. I'm not a presenter. I've never done this before, and I'm kind of kicking myself because this is a wonderful tool, and I should have been doing this a long time ago. And as I saw the end times coming upon us and getting more and more intense, I just had to do it. I couldn't help but share what little bit of knowledge I've got. And believe me, I don't know everything. I don't know anything. When I went through this living in the private here, not this one, it's one of these up here, the courts, strategies for court. There we are. When I went through this page and read all of this, and I'm pretty good in the courts for a layperson, but I saw all kinds of mistakes I made. And when I get one part of it figured out, they tricked me a different way. And that's just what they do. We're dealing with snakes. We're dealing with priests of Baal in there. We're dealing with liars, sons of the devil. So what do we expect? That's just what they do. That's how they get down. Anyway, so check this out. Living in the private, educate yourself, ask questions, verify everything. That's a pretty good motto. And this is livingintheprivateblogspot.com right here. And with that, I'm going to say good night to everybody, and thank you so much for listening. And Yahuwah bless you all.